welcome to the Cordless Interview Series, where we talk with customer support leaders about what's going on in the space and how they're approaching building up their teams. Today, I'm very pleased to introduce Martin Girtley, Senior Customer Support Manager at Urban. Welcome, and thanks for joining me today.
Hey, no, thank you very much for inviting me along. Yeah, great to be here.
Great to meet you too. To get us started, could you please introduce yourself and maybe say a couple of words about your background and customer support career so far?
Yeah, for sure. So as you say, my name is Martin Girtley. So I am the customer support senior manager here at Urban. In fact, in a couple of days, I've been here for 7 years, so I am pretty much one of the OGs. I started, as I started 7 years ago. I started my journey with Urban as being representative, and then progressed from there to become more senior. So became a supervisor, then became team leader, and then now senior manager. My background is mostly customer support. I've been doing customer support since I was probably around 15. So working in bars, then working in a debt helpline as a debt helpline advisor, shall I say, and then of course now working at Urban.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Because given all of this experience over so many years, what do you think is the most important thing to make customer service a success?
Yeah, so I think that having the ability to adapt to ever-changing scenarios, definitely. So, as we all have, over the last 3-4 years, you've just got to be able to adapt to those big different changes. But if you can do that, then of course, everything's a breeze pretty much from that point onwards. So I'd say as well, both internal and external factors. So obviously external factors like we know the COVID, cost of living crisis and such like that, but also internally as well. So, as a company for us, we're very ambitious and continuously launching new, treatments, app features and such like that as well. For me, customer support isn't just, because a lot of companies will just go, oh, it's the same across the board, like a copy and paste sort of thing. It's, it has a mixture of different priorities and responses. So having your own identity to showcase, your great support and attentiveness to the clients is something that's going to be, something that everyone will cherish, definitely. I think at Urban, I feel based on, the industry that we're in at the moment, there is a whole lot of different interactions and it's ever changing. So, we truly need to adapt, definitely, for sure. Equally, understanding the customers that we serve and the expectations is definitely key as well, because that just shows how we can best then support them, really.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I guess to build on that, so of course customers come to you with problems and feedback about the product, and as you say, things always change and you have to adapt to it. How do you make sure that this feedback loop is there, let's say with the rest of the business, with the product team and so on?
So feedback is massive. So, it's hugely welcome at Urban for sure. We work really closely with our products. So as customer support, so we work really closely with our products and engineering team to give them insights into, what's going off, what's been requested, what feedback we're receiving. We also do that into focus groups as well, anything that's to do with bug fixes as well. So we do all of that. We equally work, of course, with a lot with the marketing operations, as long as the finance team as well. So from our perspective as CS, we sit at the center of the company because we are ears and eyes pretty much. So yeah.
Do you have any advice for anyone trying to build out that collaboration between teams, of how to set it up, or any particular processes that you feel work for you very well?
I think definitely being open to, anything that's being suggested, but also because you can go forward with suggesting your own ideas, or even ideas from clients and therapists as we work with. But having that thought of thinking as a collaborative space, but also having the factor of like thinking win-win as well, to make sure that it's across the board. It's not just going to be benefiting for one department, it's going to benefit everyone. So I think just having that respect to listen, to understand, but also as well to throw all the different thoughts in and then go, right, this is the best way to go forward with that.
Are there any tools that you use to make sure this process works more easily in teams?
So you mean as in like technology and such? So
yeah.
So we do communicate a lot, of course, as everyone does with Zoom and obviously with Slack as well. So it's mostly having like little huddles here, there, and everywhere. And
I mean more for like feedback collection, let's say, where you categorize that feedback and maybe that's where the product team picks it up or something like that.
So mostly on Slack then. So we utilize Slack like like it is like our bread and butter in a sense. So we've got a plethora of channels that we do use where we're like, okay, so this is like, say, a product escalations channel, or a collaborative channel and such like that, for where we share ideas and such. So we create workflows, and say, right, okay, so this is the feedback we're receiving. Let's work together on, and obviously getting a common ground of what we can do to fix that pretty much. So we pretty much collaborate that way. But then, of course, we do have huddles, we do have face-to-face Zooms and such like that to obviously hash that out as well. So
I mean, for us also we use Slack a lot for this kind of thing, and collect customer feedback there. It can be really, really powerful for sure. Cool. What is your biggest challenge right now in terms of how you're building out support?
I wouldn't. It's a really weird one. I wouldn't say it's a challenge. I'd say it's more a goal in a sense, is just to like make sure that we keep our staff, so staff retention pretty much. We of course empower our agents to to have their own autonomy, make their own decisions and such like that, and we invest in the tools to allow them to do their best work. So I wouldn't say it's too much of a challenge, but it is something that it is a priority of mine to make sure that, of course, those goals are being met pretty much.
Yeah, makes sense. I guess with a large team, and especially when there is high turnover, it can be quite hard to maintain the consistency of support and the quality. How do you go about doing that? Do you have any advice or tips and tricks?
Yeah, I'd say with any size team across the industry, it's about ensuring, obviously, of course, the team have their right tools, they've got their own resources, and they've got all the training from the onset, not just throughout their journey with obviously whoever they're working with. We have fostered a really, really good team of being able to approach us with any sorts of queries and such like that, and are very supportive. The team that we've got at the moment, so it consists of myself, then we have a supervisor as well, and then of course the agents. We do regular training sessions with them. This will be mostly to do with things that are like existing as well as new processes. This is just to ensure that, of course, everyone's on the same page. But as you can imagine, especially with the industry that we're in, there's going to be over 35,000 different scenarios in which, one will come up only once in your whole lifetime, or it'll be something that'll be just so regular that we're like, okay, snap, straight away, there's the answer. So yeah, but I think that in terms of tips and tricks, I think it's just to make sure that those different areas are definitely embedded across the team. But I think as well, for me, it's all about talking and communicating about the different processes that we've done, and just like, okay, do you understand this? Do we want to dip more into this, or is there something else that we can add as an extra layer to to increase that understanding and expectation, pretty much.
Yeah, it sounds like it's quite open rather than scripted in terms of interactions and how you train the team.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So on that, I guess these days, everyone talks a lot about ChatGPT and how AI will transform customer support. It's one of my favorite questions to ask customer support leaders. How are you thinking about this? What is your perception? And is there anything you're trying at Urban?
Yeah, so it's everywhere, isn't it? But in terms of how AI is working, we don't see it ever replacing, of course, any of our team members and such like that. Definitely not. Um, we do use a little bit of AI tools, for auditing and speeding up processes that we do have. So it's more of like a helping hand tool as opposed to actually full interaction and such like that. So, creating templates and things like that. So, yeah, so we don't see it as being like a definite takeover for sure.
Um, but yeah, do you plan to maybe experiment with this more? Like, do you see the future of integrating the smart urban, of actually interacting with customers, or for you, it's no, it's always it will be humans to humans?
Yeah, the human touch is definitely one for me, because I'm old school, with we've been in the industry for, over 20 years, 25 years. So, it is something that I want to make sure that, the human touch is definitely the better one because, your interaction is better with the person. And that, the deviation from a person from AI can sometimes just be mixed up in that respect. So yeah, I think more in the sense of actual people is the best way forward for us, really.
So, like, let's say, just to be a devil's advocate, so one of the arguments for it is that it would speed up the response time sometimes, uh, which could be useful for informational requests and things like that. How do you feel about it? Or is it still a no?
Do you know what? Yes, it would, speed up time and such. And I suppose looking back on, different interactions and different types of interactions, it probably would help, to definitely speed up those sorts of situations. But, on the other side of that is that, those interactions still need someone at the end of them in a sense. Um, so, for me, I don't think that it's something that, I would like to go down the route of, but, never say never, as they say.
Yeah, no, I totally understand the question around this. Um, I often hear that customer support is thought of as a cost center in an organization. What do you think about the statement, and how do you approach managing this perception within your organization for your team? And
Yeah, so I think that in terms of that sort of situation, without crucial insight into to CS and such, the business wouldn't be able to grow. Um, so I think that yes, I think just having like an efficient CS team is definitely a key for a business. There's ways to keep in CS without obviously, keeping it lean in that sort of respect without obviously it becoming a complete sinkhole in a sense for obviously costing. Um, but yeah, I think that it's definitely needed. It's definitely the center of a business in a sense.
got it. Is there any ways you manage it with your team or for the leadership, trying to highlight how important and it is for the business and customer outcomes? I guess again, like any tips for the other customer support leaders of how to, um,
Yeah, I think it's again adaptability. Being able to adapt to different situations, but also implement a process around that new process or new situation that's evolved itself, and being able to actually go, okay, let's have a conversation around XYZ, to obviously overcome that. I think that obviously the way that of course you've got to look at demand forecasting, you've got to look at your if you have stats from years before and such like that to know how to to obviously staff your coverage and such like that as well. But I think as well just making sure that you have superstars within your team. And of course, if you've got brand new starters to the to the company and such like that, make sure that they're also, supported by the superstars you already have, to get them to be that good. So yeah.
Okay, final question. Can you tell us about a company whose customer service you really admire and why?
Yes. So I really, really like Octopus Energy. So I really like the fact that they've got a real good transparency to their customers, but also the support is really good as well. I advocate for them because I'm also a customer of them, so I have that firsthand for sure. But I think it's just like I say, it's their openness to ever changing situations and such like that. I can't remember the name of the CEO, but they're always on like a sign off from the email, and they send like little blogs here, there, and everywhere as well. And it's really good that they are so open to supporting their clients, as opposed to let's hide away from the situation with like the cost of living crisis as an example. So I think that they did a really, really good job with that. But yeah, so I think that if there's anyone that springs to mind straight away, it's pretty much Octopus Energy.
Yeah, I agree. I'm also an Octopus customer, so I know what you're talking about. I think it's I remember speaking to a senior leader in support in Octopus, and I hope I'm not mixing up, but I think one of the approaches that they have is that they are very much against escalations as well. So their team is trained fully to support on a full suite of questions rather than escalating a customer for particular things, which obviously is a much, much better customer experience where you just don't need to wait or repeat yourself, and just like one person can actually deal with your question. So they're definitely very customer centric. So yeah, they're one of the top of my list as well.
I love that as well. I tried to do the same thing here at Urban as well. That we ensure that, of course, the team have all the tools to be able to answer any sorts of questions. And it's most of the times when anything is escalated to a manager, in a sense, it's pretty much that it's got to that stage that it needs the manager input, in a sense. Whereas we give the tools to the team to be able to to be self-managerial in a sense. So yeah, so I like that.
Yeah, 100%. Great. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really enjoyed chatting to you and found it very insightful. Thank you.
No worries at all. Thank you very much for your time.